This is not a coincidence. Before you read another sentence, pause. Take one slow breath, because what you are about to read did not arrive randomly. God says, if you are seeing this right now, it is not by accident. You were not just scrolling. You were not passing time. You were not killing boredom. Something inside you recognized this moment before your mind tried to explain it away. That quiet pull you felt, that sudden pause of attention, that unexplainable feeling of, let me read this, that was not curiosity, that was recognition. Why God interrupts ordinary moments. God rarely speaks when life is loud. He does not fight for attention. He does not scream over noise. He does not chase distracted hearts. Instead, He waits. He waits until your soul is tired of pretending, until your heart is heavy but silent, until you are strong enough to hear truth without breaking. God says, I waited until you stopped asking everyone else for answers. You see, if God had revealed this message earlier, you would have misunderstood it. If He had spoken sooner, you would have doubted it. If He had shown you the truth back then, it would have crushed you instead of freeing you. So He delayed, not because He forgot you, not because He ignored you, but because timing matters more than urgency. You have been prepared for this moment. Look back. There were seasons when you begged God for clarity. You prayed for signs. You asked for explanations. You wanted truth now, and heaven stayed silent. That silence confused you. It hurt you. It made you question yourself. But God says, silence was not absence. Silence was preparation. Every delay refined you. Every unanswered prayer strengthened your discernment. Every disappointment sharpened your vision. You didn't realize it then, but God was slowly removing illusions from your life. People you trusted began to change. Situations you believed in began to collapse. Paths you planned no longer opened, not because you failed, but because you were outgrowing them. Why this message found you today? God does not send messages randomly. He sends them precisely. This message did not find you on a good day by accident. It did not appear on a peaceful day by coincidence. It found you when your heart was quietly asking questions your mouth never spoke. Questions like, why does everything feel heavy even when nothing is wrong? Why do I feel disconnected from people who once felt close? Why do I feel like something is ending, but nothing has ended yet? God answers, because you are standing at the edge of awareness. You are transitioning, not externally, internally. Your spirit is waking up faster than your environment can follow, and that always feels lonely before it feels powerful. The awakening always feels uncomfortable. Nobody talks about this part. Awakening does not feel magical at first. It feels confusing. It feels isolating. It feels like something is wrong with you. You begin to notice things others ignore. You begin to feel uncomfortable in places you once enjoyed. You begin to question dynamics you once accepted. And people around you may say, you've changed. You're overthinking. You're becoming distant. But God says, you are not changing. You are remembering who you are. Truth always separates before it unites. Awareness always isolates before it empowers. And that discomfort, that tension, that restlessness, it is your soul shedding old limitations. Why you couldn't ignore this message? Think honestly. You could have scrolled past this. You could have dismissed it. You could have ignored it like countless other posts. But you didn't, because deep inside, you felt something familiar. God says, my voice does not convince, it resonates. Your spirit recognized the frequency, not because you understood everything, but because something inside you whispered, this is for me. And it is. what God wants you to know first before revealing what is ending, before explaining what was hidden, before showing what is about to open. God wants you to understand this. You are not late. You are right on time. Nothing in your life is behind schedule. Nothing important has passed you by. Nothing valuable has been lost forever. What feels delayed was protected. What feels removed was necessary. What feels confusing is transitional. God does not rush destiny. He prepares vessels, and right now, He is preparing you. A quiet warning: do not ignore this. This message came with urgency for a reason, not fear, not panic, but awareness. God says, what you choose to do after this will determine what happens next. Awareness creates responsibility. Truth demands response. You don't need to react. You don't need to announce anything. You don't need to confront anyone. But you do need to listen, because from this point forward, pretending not to see will no longer feel comfortable. Before part 2. Remember this. God says, I did not reveal this to overwhelm you. I revealed it to free you. Part 2 will reveal why certain people were quietly removed, what truth was hidden until now, why confusion was necessary for your protection. But for now, sit with this. If you are seeing this, it is not by accident. It is alignment. And alignment always begins with awareness. This part may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. God says, I am about to explain things you questioned in silence. Before you continue, understand this clearly. Part 2 is not meant to please you. It is meant to liberate you. Because freedom does not begin with comfort. It begins with clarity. Why God removed people without explanation. You didn't imagine it. Some people disappeared without closure. Some relationships changed overnight. Some connections faded without conflict. Some bonds broke without warning. And the most painful part? They left when you needed them the most. You prayed, God, why would you allow this? Why now? Why them? God answers, because they could not follow you where I am taking you. Not everyone who walks with you is meant to walk with your future. Some people are assigned to your season, not your destiny. Some are meant to teach, not stay. Some are meant to reveal, not remain. And when their assignment ends, heaven quietly pulls them away. Why it had to happen silently. You expected explanations. You hoped for apologies. You waited for honesty. But silence came instead. That silence hurt. It felt unfair. It felt unresolved. But God says, if I had explained everything, you would have tried to fix what I was removing. Sometimes closure would only delay obedience. If you had known the full truth earlier, you would have argued. You would have justified them. You would have stayed longer than necessary. So God chose peace over explanation, not to confuse you, but to protect you. The truth about those you lost here is what God wants you to understand now. They were not bad people. They were not evil. They were not necessarily wrong. They were simply misaligned. And misalignment always creates friction, even when love is present. God says, I removed them not because they harmed you, but because they limited you. Some people love you for who you were. Few can love you for who you are becoming. And growth threatens comfort. So heaven intervened. Why you felt guilty for outgrowing them. You felt selfish. You questioned yourself. You wondered if you were the problem. You thought, maybe I changed too much. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe I should adjust. But God says, you were not asking for too much. You were asking the wrong people. Growth creates distance before it creates alignment. And guilt is often the price of self-respect when you are not used to choosing yourself. Why God hid the truth until now? You asked God many times, "Why didn't you show me earlier? Why did you let me believe lies? Why did you let me trust what wasn't real?" God answers gently, "Because you were not ready to see it without breaking." Truth is not revealed based on curiosity. It is revealed based on capacity. Earlier, you would have blamed yourself. You would have collapsed emotionally. You would have confronted prematurely. You would have acted from pain, not wisdom. So God delayed revelation, not to deceive you, but to strengthen you. Confusion was your protection. This may surprise you. Your confusion was intentional. God says, "I allowed you to be confused so you wouldn't be consumed." If clarity had come earlier, you would have confronted people who would gaslight you. You would have spoken truths to ears not ready to hear. You would have exposed yourself emotionally without safety. So God covered truth with fog, not to punish you, but to shield you. And now that fog is lifting, slowly, gently, precisely. Why things felt heavy without a reason. There were days when nothing went wrong, yet everything felt wrong. You smiled, you worked, you functioned, but inside something felt off. God says, your spirit felt what your mind refused to accept. Your soul recognized misalignment before logic caught up. That heaviness, that emotional fatigue, that loss of motivation. It wasn't weakness, it was discernment activating. The signs you ignored, but felt. God shows truth long before he explains it. Think back. You noticed inconsistencies in words and actions, energy shifts in conversations, discomfort after certain interactions, emotional drain without explanation. But you dismissed it. You rationalized it. You gave benefit of doubt. God says, you honored connection more than intuition. And that is not a flaw. It is a sign of a loving heart. But now, God is teaching you balance. Why you had to learn this? The hard way. You wondered, why did I have to experience this personally? Why couldn't I just be warned? God answers, because information teaches the mind. Experience trains discernment. Had you been warned verbally, you might have doubted. But now, you know. You don't need proof. You don't need validation. You don't need confirmation. Your spirit remembers what God is quietly restoring in you. While you focused on loss, God was restoring something far more valuable. He restored your self-trust, your emotional boundaries, your discernment, your ability to listen inwardly. God says, I didn't just remove people. I returned you to yourself. That strength you feel now, that clarity, that calm firmness, that is not coldness, that is maturity. A warning you must hear. God says, do not chase what I removed. Nostalgia will tempt you. Loneliness may whisper lies. Memory may soften reality. But remember, what ended did so for a reason. You are not meant to revisit lessons. You are meant to apply them.